Right, Council, we'll move on to item number 7, which is announcements by members. Please remember you have a limit of 3, and at the present time, we have Councillor Brunet, Councillor Murray, Councillor Timmers in that order on the list. Councillor Murray, would you just take your name off for a moment, or I can do that, actually. All right, Councillor Brunet, would you go on? Now Councillor Murray and Councillor Timmers. Perfect, thank you very much. All right, go ahead, Councillor Brunet.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have 3 announcements. On Thursday, June the 13th, and Thursday, June the 27th, I participated and was present for 2 public information centers that were held. The one on the 13th was the official plan review, and the one on the 27th was the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for 4933 Victoria Avenue. I guess one of my takeaways from the Public Information Center for the official plan was there was only 9 people in attendance. However, the discussion that was brought forward by those 9 people to the staff that were there that evening, Mr. Bruder and Melissa Shee, as well as Monica and a couple of other people from the town staff, was really good information. Some of the topics that were brought forward from concerned residents about our official plan review were, what was going to happen with industrial lands along the service road between Vineland and Grimsby, the Ontario Street visioning, Mountain Street traffic into our downtown core, access to Lake Ontario, and the small town mentioning in the official plan. Staff was very diligent in gathering that information, and Director Bruder was very telling to the residents that showed up for that PIC that information would be taken as we continue to go through this review and bring it from a draft to a rollout for the official plan. So that was good information. Secondly, Madam Mayor, I was very pleased to represent you as well as this council at the groundbreaking ceremony for McNally House. It was a wonderful afternoon, beautiful weather. There was over 100 people attended as representing the mayors of West Niagara, and I was glad to represent you that day. Chair Bradley was there, and a lot of board members, current board members, former board members, philanthropists, and volunteers. So it was a great event. Looking forward to the shovel to go in the ground for the McNally House expansion. And lastly, Madam Mayor, I wanted to bring forward an announcement that a resident, a Lincoln resident, a Ward 2 resident, has brought to my attention and asked me to share. There is an event that's going to be taking place in August 10th and 11th, and August 17th and 18th. It's called the Niagara Sunflower Festival for the Ukrainian Relief. It's being put on at the London-born winery, and this is at their facility at 3749 Walker Road, not their new facility on Cherry. All proceeds are going to the Ukrainian Humanitarian Relief Charity, and they are planting 80,000 sunflowers. And you go there, pick your own bouquet. There'll be shop local vendors enjoying music, food, wine, or beer in a beautiful rural setting. So anyone that's interested in that can reach out to Joe Hube, that's Joe-O-E-H-U-B-E, at iCloud.com for tickets. And tickets can be then gone from the Eventbrite facility. So just wanted to share that on behalf of the organizations Chase Realty, London Born, and BCU Financial that are planning this event, a great community event in August. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. That was very informative. Thank you very much, Councillor Brunet, and thank you for making yourself available to attend at McNally House. Councillor Murray.
Good evening, Mayor. On June 8th, I was privileged in my duties as Deputy Mayor to be on hand for the 55th annual inspection of the 1626 West Niagara Royal Canadian Army Cadets. We've met some of these exceptional youth here in council chambers in November when they spoke as a delegation to honor Remembrance Day. And I would like to take the opportunity now to acknowledge the hard work, the countless hours of training, and the personal growth that each of these young people has undergone as members of this cadet corps, and to congratulate them on their achievements. And then on July 22nd, also as deputy mayor, I was given the honor of opening the 6th annual Lincoln Soapbox Derby on behalf of mayor and council. Councillor Timmers joined me there, and it was a beautiful day to celebrate the creativity, craftsmanship, and the spirit of friendly competition for these young racers. I'd like to thank all the sponsors and volunteers who pitched in to create a fabulous day for the kids of our community, and a special shout out to the Lincoln Lions Club for organizing the event, and to the town for being a major sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Murray, for making yourself available for those council-related events. And next we have Councillor Timmers. Go ahead, Councillor Timmers.
Thank you very much, Mary Ston. So on June 21st, I attended a roundtable discussion with the manufacturing sector. You were there present, Mary Ston, as well as Councillor Murray. Organized and hosted through our Economic Development Department, Cameron Rotz and Paul Deaney. And it was really an excellent discussion, and it touched on many topics that I thought would be very, very interesting to council. And so I had asked staff at that time, at the end of the discussion, if we could possibly bring a summary of these roundtables to council in the future, just as an education tool. And I think it would be a very good, interesting perspective to get these, different sectors in our community. Also, yesterday, I attended a big event up in Camden, and you were there, Mary Ston, and Deputy Mayor Greg Reimer was there, and Smith's Water Delivery were celebrating 60 years of delivering water to residents in our community. That's quite a long time, 60 years, so it was a really, really nice event, and I was really happy to be there. And also after that, I was at Charles Daly for our annual Canada Day celebrations, and I'm sure there were some other councillors here. Councillor Pachariva was there, and Reimer, and Councillor Miklik, and yourself, Mayor. And I got to tell you, the crowd was unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen such a large crowd at Canada Day, and everybody was so happy to be there, and it was just a really, really fantastic event. So those are my announcements for this week. Thank you, Mary Ston.
Thank you very much, Councillor Timmers. And I have to say that I heard today about the Lincoln fireworks, because of course they can be seen in any of the communities along the lake. And so this fellow was from Port Dalhousie, and he was telling me that their fireworks were over before Lincoln, and Lincoln's went on twice as long. So I want to thank all the sponsors that we had, and Councillor Pachariva, I don't see your name up here, so I'm going to make this comment. But there were 6 sponsors, and it's hard to operate any of these events for free for the community, and we know how people love the community events that we have here in Lincoln. And so thank you very much, and I guess it was a really huge, huge crowd. We live on the mountain, and so we watched the Smithville fireworks. So it was a pretty busy night all around. Thanks very much, councillors. We'll move on now to proclamations, and we have no proclamations this evening. We have no recognition and achievements, and we have no delegations this evening. We have one item for consideration, being nominations for the Joint Fire Service Advisory Committee, and Councillor Reimer will speak to this item first. Go ahead, Councillor Reimer.
Thank you, Mary Ston. I'd like to start first by thanking this council for allowing me to be a member of the Joint Fire Services Advisory Committee. I've been able to see a whole new side of our fire services, Chief Hudson and D.C. Blake, as well as D.C.K. from Grimsby, and just how things operate and what our fire service is all about. So I've really enjoyed my time doing that. However, the direction in which the discussions of the committee are moving and looking and foreseeing into the future, how discussions are going to take place. I feel it is in the best interest of the committee to step aside due to the fact that I have family members that are part of the fire services. I have not been involved in any discussions as of yet with respect to direct conflict of interest, but I can just see the way the discussions and the movement of that committee, which is positive, definitely positive, but those will be, those discussions will be taking place. And so I would like to step down as a member of that committee. And moving forward, I would like to nominate Mayor Easton to take my position. So I'm not sure if that's okay to start that already, Julie, but those are my comments. Thank you.
Madam Clerk? Thank you very much, Councillor. Madam Clerk, you have comments?
Thank you, Mayor Easton. So as Councillor Reimer has provided a nomination for Mayor Easton to be appointed to the Joint Fire Services Advisory Committee, Mayor Easton, do you accept that nomination?
I do.
Okay, thank you. If there are any other nominations, we will follow our standard process with respect to the appointment process. And I ask that you please raise your hand if interested in being appointed to this committee and wait to be called by the chair to speak. Once called, state your comments. Please raise your hand if you would like to nominate another member of council to this committee and wait to be called by the chair to speak. Once called, state your nomination for that member. The clerk, myself, will ask for that member who is nominated by another member of council if they accept the nomination. If they don't, we move on. If they do, we will note that nomination. Once we hear from all those who are interested, we will ask for a seconder and and we will vote in order of received. So I'll now open the floor to members of council to nominate themselves or another member of council, just as Mayor Easton has been nominated to the Joint Fire Services Advisory Committee. So we have one. Is there any other member of council that's interested? And seeing none, as Councillor Reimer has put forward, Mayor Easton, I just need a seconder for that. And if I could have a seconder? Councillor Brunet? Oh, sorry, I just looked over here, but thank you. And I will open that vote. So just give me one moment. And council, you should see that that vote is now open. And I will close that vote. And that carries. Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Easton is now a member of the Joint Fire Services Advisory Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors, and thank you for the nomination, Councillor Reimer. And we'll move on now to item 12. We're now considering item 12.1, council minutes of June 3rd, 2024. Do members of council have any questions? Seeing none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Rangima, seconded by Councillor Brunet. The council approved the minutes of the following meetings of council. Council minutes of June 3rd, 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thanks, Mayor Easton. That vote is now open. And I will close that vote. And that carries.
Thank you. The motion is carried, and we move on to item 13, which is recommendations from standing committees. We're now considering the following. Committee of the Whole minutes of June 17th, 2024. Committee of the Whole minutes of June 24th, 2024. Do members of council have any questions? There being none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers and seconded by Councillor Pachariva that council approve the following recommendations from standing committees. Committee of the Whole minutes of June 17th, 2024. Committee of the Whole minutes of June 24th, 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. The vote is now open. And I will close that vote. That carries.
The motion is carried. We move on to item 15, which is reports of municipal officers. And I do have a report, members of council, covering some of the activities that I've been involved in since the June 3rd meeting. On June 4th, I attended the Domaine Le Clos Jourdain unveiling, which is it's located up on Mountain View Road at the previously the Angels Gate Winery. It's now owned by Artel, and it was really quite a large attendance of people from the industry, from all over Niagara and beyond. Certainly a number of people there whose roles were included in economic development and merchandising. The guest list was pretty tight, and the only other person that was there that was a politician was Chair Bradley. On June the 5th, I attended the senior showcase, and Councillor Timmers was there. And Councillor Timmers, I'm trying to, I wonder if you would mind telling us who the Senior Citizen of the Year for Lincoln was. Yes, it was Sylvia House. Thank you very much. On June the 6th, and by the way, it was the best attended ever. I don't know what it was that encouraged people to come out, but it was just really packed at the Fleming Center. There were more vendors. I think that the staff organizer, Lori Laird, was really very, very pleased, and they had all kinds of things to give away. I don't know when we've seen it so busy and very, very enthusiastic. And I think this was the first year that we had the Senior Citizen of the Year. It was given out by the province. And so that's something that we can look forward to another year, keep it in our minds. Sylvia House certainly has been very active with a number of organizations. The first one that I recall her being involved in was the Strawberry Festival. And I think that she was one that carried on and just carried on in all of its iterations. So we certainly congratulate Sylvia and thank her for all of her hard work. On June the 6th, I attended an interpretive meeting with the Niagara Escarpment Commission. And this is interesting because a little later I'm going to tell you about the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. These two organizations are going through significant modernization. And their projects, in the case of the Niagara Escarpment Commission, the projects include a new development permit application process and a revised exemption program, which are heavily dependent on individual property owners evaluating where they stand against certain criteria. I think this is going to be quite interesting. It's about a 180 or more degree turn away from the way they've done things in the past. And so they appear to be very committed to the new direction, and I believe from conversations I've had with CAO Kirkopoulos that they've already started communicating with municipalities in a different way than maybe they have been accustomed to in the past. On June the 10th, we hosted an on-site visit along with MPP Oosterhoff with the Honorable Andrea Kangin. She is Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, and her visit here was to examine the shoreline erosion and protection project that we've been applying for money. And this is specifically that area on Lakeside Drive where the road has just gone right into the lake on a number of occasions. You'll recall that we had to have some evacuations around 2012. At any rate, there's certainly a lot of work that needs to be done there. The staff have a major marine report that relates to that. And so she came to have a look, and I think she was quite impressed by what she saw and the risk that the people that live in that area are faced with. One big storm would certainly do it. And so, due to the current high water levels, which I might add are very beneficial for the marine economy, but not so beneficial when you have a big storm and then you end up with serious wave action. So just as, you know, we're always in the business of looking for grant money on behalf of our community, and this is one of the ways that we continue to reinforce the message. On June the 11th, I attended my regular Public Works and Public Health and Social Services meetings at the region. And on June 12th, Mr. Deanne and Mr. Graham and I attended a meeting with one of our food manufacturers. This was really to discuss their access to water and how wastewater is treated and the costs. As we all know, when we were faced with the regional budget and the cost of our own water from the region, the chemicals have gone up 47%, and so people are looking for better understanding and in some cases relief. On June 13, the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce had their Business Achievement Awards, and I have since written letters of congratulations to David Adames, who is the Executive Director of Niagara Parks. He won the Innovative Leader Award, and certainly well-earned with some of the wonderful projects that they have completed and are beginning to work on in the future. It's really putting Niagara Falls on a different level in terms of tourism attraction. Locally, Noor Hage, who is the CEO of Civic Connect Lincoln, he was a finalist in the Young Profession, quite an achievement for Noor. He's really young in his role, and he certainly is impressing people. Janice Thompson, who I believe Councillor Pachariva would know quite well, certainly her community leadership over many, many years in the tourism area. She won that award for community leadership. Bethlehem Place won the Excellence in Business Not-for-Profit, and we certainly are familiar with them and their housing support within Lincoln. Mr. Gabriel DeSantis and DeSantis Homes were named as the Builder of the Year. Cherry Lane and Penny Smith won the Excellence in Agribusiness, Farming and Rural Achievement Award, and Vineland Research and Innovation Center were a finalist in the Business of the Year. So we congratulate everyone that is associated with that, us and others, and we're very pleased to attend. It was really quite an exciting evening, and I was one of the parties that gave out the Tourism Award. On Friday, June the 14th now, we had the session, our little workshop with the conservation authorities, and the conservations and authorities and municipalities and working together. This is a new project for them as well. This is all out of Bill 23, and they are clients and we are both partners, no question. And they have a new online system. They've developed a permit application portal where meetings can be booked more directly, and staff can also set up meetings the public can set up meetings with staff in person and online, and meetings it'll just make it much, much easier for people to have those connections. And again, new guidance for exemptions under Regulation 828, and so maybe a little bit more accountability on the average property owner, and hopefully a more clear direction in terms of what the rules are, and then some further interpretation. Certainly, who does what in that working together is very, very important. And clarifying who has what authority is also important, and these are areas where the CAO and staff have been working already. The NEC staff will transition away from reviewing development proposals to confirming the exemption activities, similar to the NEC. And the issuance of informal exemption letters will be sent accordingly. Transitioning to a self-serve model for assessing and the applicable exemptions that are completed will be the way of the future. We had an announcement. Councillor Rinjima attended this event with me and made the presentation. $104,000 was a grant that was given for the renovations of the public washrooms at Beam Street, and the money came from the Trillium Foundation. And that was, it's really quite a, I'm not suggesting that everybody run up to have a look at this washroom, but it's such a big improvement over what was there before that I think we've finally met Councillor Rinjima's expectations. On June the 15th, I attended the Scouts, the Beamsville Scouts year-end barbecue, and I can never say enough about the leadership with these Scouts. They had been there overnight, taking up all of Bomberry Park. All of the trees that they planted all through COVID and before and after are doing extremely well, and so it's a very, very natural environment that they have to play all of their games and take on all the learnings. And they're going to be attending the World Jamboree in Iceland in July. And so they've all been learning how to refine their cooking skills. I understand that they go in the morning, they collect all their victuals for the day, and then they're responsible for whatever happens to them after that. So that's good news for their futures. So if anybody has a few dollars that they would like to donate, you can certainly get in touch with the Scouts. I think they're still looking for some money. The adults are all paying their own way, of course, but the Scouts could do well with a few more donations, I'm sure. On June the 18th, Mr. Deanne and myself, and I'm sorry if I've forgotten who the other people were in attendance, but there may have been other staff in attendance, but there was quite a substantial manufacturing facility looking to relocate here, small manufacturing, and they would also bring some skilled jobs opportunities. As well, on June 18th, we met with the executive director. It was the quarterly meeting of the BIA, and of course, Stephanie Hicks always has a great deal to tell us about what's going on with the Beamsville BIA and the future programming, which is always well advertised, not only on the town website, but also on the BIA website. I attended the Aggregate Resources Trust Board meeting on June 20th, and also on June 20th met with Minister Kinga Surma. This was an electronic meeting. She is the Minister of Infrastructure. On this occasion, we were discussing access to high-speed internet. I was invited to attend, but I ensured that Mr. Deanne, Director Deanne, also attended and had a conversation with Councillor Foster, who's one of the executive members of SWIFT. Things are moving along very well in this area. I think it's important for the public to know that it hasn't gone dormant, and we continue to advocate on your behalf. On Friday, June the 21st, as you've heard from Councillor Timmers, we had a manufacturing roundtable. 3 of the areas that were identified by them would not be any surprise to us. They certainly are looking for an elimination, if not a decrease, a complete elimination of industry DCs. They welcome the decrease in red tape and are very pleased with their relationships with the town of Lincoln. And they share our advocacy for jobs creation and certainly rebuilding in the skilled trades. As a sector, they are very, very concerned about the welfare of all businesses and their ability to keep going beyond the first generation. Friday, June 21st, Saturday, the 22nd, and the 23rd was the Art Lives Here, which was a session that was held not only at the museum, but all over town. The program took us even up into St. Anne's, and it was a wonderful interactive weekend. Ms. McKay and I were there, and we were doing all kinds of things, making paper and chatting with people about how to make baskets, and it was actually very relaxing and just a wonderful afternoon. And you didn't, in some ways, I love the fact that I didn't have to worry about spending any money. I could just enjoy learning about what was going on, and I think that was the whole idea. They just wanted us to immerse ourselves in what they had to what they had planned, and it also didn't cost anything, so it was just a great turnout. On Friday, June 21st, we also had the Fleming Center 10th anniversary, and Councillor Brunet was there, and Councillor Timmers. Who else was there? Were you there, Councillor Pachariva? Anybody else I've forgotten? So we don't know where the time has gone, but it certainly has lived up to all of its expectations. The arena, of course, was filled with people playing pickleball, but nothing like the Lincoln team that went out after with the CAO and who else? Mr. Deanne, Mr. it was Councillor Pachariva. Councillor Timmers? No, it was Madam Clerk. So, and they did very well. They did very well, and so I think they've all decided that pickleball is the thing, which is what Lynn Elliott's been telling us for months now. On Saturday, June 27th, was the first annual Volunteer Recognition Day that was held by the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 612. They hadn't had this for a long, long time. It was just great fun. And there was a lot of dancing that was going on. I was having a great time. And people really appreciated it. They were obviously up for a barbecue and some great food. It was a great evening, and I want to thank the branch. I mean, like all organizations in the town, they're not getting any younger, but they seem to have an unlimited amount of energy. On June 24th, I attended a regional workshop on waste management strategic plan. I don't sit on that committee, but I specifically attended it because I wanted to make sure that I was completely up to date with the direction that things were going, particularly at the provincial level, and how it impacts some of the policy changes that could be coming in the future. That day, we also had KPMG attend our community, our committee of the whole meeting, and they presented the audited statement, and of course, we had a clean audit. On June 25th, Vineland Research and Innovation Center attended at the town to present us with a special yellow rose. These roses are part of the 49th Parallel series. They're a cold weather rose. If anyone has them growing in their gardens, I'm sure they'll be there in 100 years. We have two of them we have two varieties that are growing in the garden at the back of on the west side of the town hall. And now we have the yellow roses now at the front, and these are very, very special. That evening, the Beamsville Lions Club held a summer barbecue. I must say they were extremely complimentary of the park's staff, the condition of the park, the condition of the gazebo, and just very, very pleased with the legacy that they have left and the way the town is looking after it on behalf of everyone who enjoys time there. Now, I want to tell you about something that I attended. Maybe I'll go along. June 27th, I attended 2 meetings at the region. One was on grants and incentives, which I've had a further meeting with town staff about today, and our regular council meeting. On June 28th, I attended just a quick interview with Walter Senzik, reviewing the Canada Day program. On July 1st, Councillor Greg Reimer stepped into his role as the deputy mayor. I want to thank Councillor Murray for her 3 months. Was that your first time around, Councillor Murray? I think it was. Well, I'll tell you, councillors, anybody that's coming up now, the agendas are so heavy that you will be called upon, and sometimes I have to go through 2 or 3 groups of people to see who might be available, but the workload is certainly very busy. We attended, as you heard, the Smiths Water 60th anniversary. But most importantly, on that day were the Canada Day celebrations, and again, thanks to all the sponsors, it's not possible to do these things anymore without those. I want to quickly draw to your attention an event that I attended at Brock University. And this was the 3rd display, art display. These are traveling displays, and this one was on the residential school experience, and it was, the focus this time was on the Inuit people. And the title was, "We Were So Far Away." I thought that was a very poignant title. I'd like to read to you the words of a woman by the name of Marjorie Flowers, from Nunatta Savut. She said, "I lost a lot. I lost a lot of my culture and parenting and role models. I gained my education, but I lost a lot of me in the process. I almost didn't know who I was. I wanted to be someone else. It took a long time to come back and find my roots, although my parents always taught me a lot about my roots. But I lost it when I went to school. I didn't get it back for years." Marjorie Flowers attended school in her home community of Makivik, Labrador, until she was in the 8th grade. But from 1974 to 1977, she lived in the International Grenfell Association dormitory and attended the Lake Melville High School in Northwest River, Labrador. She could only return home twice a year. I was told by one of the interpreters from Brock University, Kim Hill, that from time to time we'll see photographs of a very, very stately stone building, 2 or 3 stories high. These, of course, are the residential schools. And then in front you'll see Indian teepees. And this is what happens when the families become so grief-stricken being away from their children that they literally become nomads and start moving across the country, setting up their teepees in front of the residential schools. They can't go in and visit their children, but they can be close to them. Certainly, I think from a position of empathy, we can understand as parents and grandparents what that must be like. I find it important as the mayor to attend these because sometimes when we're thinking about who did the residential school experience impact, we may not know how broad that experience was. How many people did it really touch? This is a way for me to become more familiar, to be better educated about it, and I feel compelled to share it with you, and I thank you very much for your attention. I have a motion moved by Councillor Murray and seconded by Councillor Mikulik, that council receive and file as information the following mayor's report. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and the vote is now open. And I'll close that vote. That carries.
Thank you. That motion is carried, and we move on now to consider confidential matters. We will now consider Agenda Item 16, a motion to consider confidential matters along with our town solicitors from Aird and Bareilles, Tom Helinski and David Ryder. Before I read the motion and we motion to move into closed, I would like to explain what will happen for those watching this meeting online. You know, if you came in at the beginning, that there was a little bit of a disruption, but we seem to have that all corrected now. And so the matter of the closed session meeting will be the same as it normally is. First, there will be a closed session statement that the clerk will go through for staff that will be attending the closed session remotely. And once that is completed, we will move on with the motion to move into closed. The clerk will be turning off the live webcast during the closed portion of the meeting. Once we have completed the closed portion, we will resume with the live webcast and carry on with the public portion of the meeting, and we'll read the motions in public session. I will now ask the clerk to conduct the closed session statement for all of council and others attending the closed session remotely. Madam Clerk?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Thank you to all members. You're reminded that any discussions in closed session are to remain confidential as per our procedural bylaw and our code of conduct for the Council of the Town of Lincoln. Before we begin, I need each member that is attending electronically to confirm the following, and the only one that I know is attending electronically is Councillor Murray. That you understand that matters are to remain confidential, confirm no one else is present with you, confirm no one can hear this closed session, confirm that you are not using any electronic devices other than your tablet, computer, telephone for the video conferencing, and confirm that you are not recording this portion of the meeting. If you acknowledge all of the above, please reply with "I understand," confirm to all of the statements. Councillor Murray?
I understand and confirm to all the statements.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva, seconded by Councillor Reimer. Under Section 239 of the Municipal Act, notice is hereby given that council adjourned to closed session in order to address item 16.1 pursuant to Section 239(2) subsection E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality, and Section 239(2) subsection F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose pertaining to ongoing bylaw matters. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Vote is now open. And I will close that vote. And that carries.
Thank you. The motion is carried, and Madam Clerk, please proceed with the technical requirements to move into closed session.
One.
Thank you. We're now returning into open session, and I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers, seconded by Councillor Brunet, that council resume in open session. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
And the vote is now open. Councillor Regima?
I'm trying to say yes, but it's,
Okay, I will,
there it goes, it worked.
thank you. And I will close the vote. Thank you, Madam Mayor, that carries.
All right, the motion is carried, and we're moving on. I have a motion moved by Councillor Murray and seconded by Councillor Njima. This council receive and file the confidential updates, and that staff move forward as directed in closed session as it relates to item 16.1 pursuant to section 239(2) subsection E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality, and section 239(2) subsection F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose pertaining to ongoing bylaw matters. Madam Clerk, please open the vote.
I'm having some technical difficulties right now. If I can just ask for a show of hands, please, that you are in favor, and I will ask for that, Madam Mayor.
All in favor, raise your hands.
Councillor Murray, can I get a verbal update from you?
Support.
Thank you, and that does carry, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the motion is carried. Madam Clerk, do you have an ongoing issue?
It doesn't appear so.
Okay, Councillor Mikulik, would you please ask Councillor Reimer to come in, please? All right, item number 17 is a motion to approve bylaws. We have 6 bylaws for consideration today. Councillor Mikulik has requested that bylaws 2024-52 and 2024-53 be voted on separately, so we will consider these bylaws first. Do members have any questions on 2024-52? Councillor Njima, your light is on. Do you have a question? Okay, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. During the decision, the public meeting and the recommendation, the consideration of the recommendation report for this official planning zoning bylaw amendment, there was a lot of interest from the residents in the area, and we know that it went through and there was approval. And then our next step will be for the applicant to apply for site plan approval. And we know that that is something that's delegated to staff for approval, and that it would come to us in the form of a bylaw. So I'm interested in how we can establish a process where we can hear back on the process of that site plan application in a little more of a proactive manner than hearing from the community that may hear about, rumblings and things happening, and then reaching out to us as politicians and asking us questions. I think that this is a little bit of a controversial development. That was my opinion, and I didn't support it, and I'm not going to support it tonight again. So do you want me to ask that question now or later on in the agenda after this vote happens? The question is, how can we be kept up to date in some way on the site plan approval application through the process, even though it's been delegated to staff?
Okay, I'll just check. Madam Clerk, do you consider this to be part of this bylaw? All right, the clerk has ruled it part of the bylaw, so you can continue on. Have you asked your question?
I think I have.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So, Mr. CAO, would you like to respond?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yeah, I'm going to take a stab at responding this, and I think the simple answer is we'll provide council proactive updates as the councillor has suggested.
Okay, that's simple enough. Mr. Bruder, do you have anything more to add? Okay, is that satisfactory?
Yes, thank you.
Did you want an amendment?
No.
No.
I think it's fine. as it
Okay,
is.
thank you very much.
appreciate
I'm s-
that.
I'm not being flippant with you, but
No, I know.
if you had to delay, I figured that you didn't have anything in hand.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, I have a motion then by Counselor Timmers and seconded by Counselor Murray that leave be given to approve the following bylaw, 2024-52, bylaw to adopt amendment number 18 to the official plan of the town of Lincoln. Madam Clerk, if you would open the vote.
The vote is now open, Madam Mayor. I will close the vote. And that carries.
All right, the motion is carried. Now I have a motion moved by Counselor Brunet, seconded by Counselor Reimer, that leave be given to approve the following bylaw. 2024-53, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 2022-50 as amended of the town of Lincoln, QEW Exit 64-10A Inc. Are there any questions to this motion? Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
And the vote is now open, Madam Mayor. And I will close that vote. Thank you, that carries.
All right, that motion is carried. And now, councilors will consider the remaining bylaws. Do members have any questions of the remaining, which includes 2024-50, 51, 54, and 55? No questions? I have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva, seconded by Councillor Njima, that leave be given to approve the following bylaws. 2024-50, a bylaw for the prohibiting and regulating the alteration of property grades, the placing or dumping of fill, the removal of topsoil, and the injuring or destruction of trees within the town of Lincoln, and to repeal bylaw number 2020-64. Bylaw 2024-51 is a bylaw to establish an administrative monetary penalty system for non-parking related offenses within the town of Lincoln, and to repeal bylaw number 2023-25. Bylaw 2024-54 is a bylaw to designate the property known municipally as 32926 6th Avenue in the town of Lincoln as being of cultural heritage value or interest pursuant to the Ontario Heritage Act, RSO 1990, Chapter O, 18. Bylaw 2024-55 is a bylaw to authorize the execution of the Canadian Community Building Fund Municipal Funding Agreement with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and that vote is now open. And I will close that vote, and that carries.
All right, the motion carried, and we're moving on to item 18, which is a motion to confirm proceedings of the council meeting. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Reimer and seconded by Councillor Brunet, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 2024-56, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024, being read a first, second, and third time, that bylaw number 2024-56 be enacted and passed, and that the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
The vote is open. Thank you. Vote closed, and that carries.
Thank you. The motion is carried. Before we motion to adjourn the meeting, do members have any comments? Councillor Pachariva.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Last night, we had another power outage that affected, approximately 3,000 households in the town of Lincoln. It's the third time that this has happened in the past 2 weeks. We know it was a Hydro One issue, but a question to Councillor Brunei, who's our rep on NPEI. Councillor Brunei, could you talk to them to maybe update their way of reporting? Like, they show an outage map. Well, that's a case of misery loves company.
Who shows the outage map?
NPEI does.
Okay.
But, like, there's no updates provided. Like, there's no updates until after the event happens on what the issue was. And last night, there was a heck of a lot of things swirling around on social media that you know, we've allowed development to happen that doesn't conform to the system. And it just allows the conspiracy theorists to vibrate. You know, things about electric cars, and it's the gamut. So it's some equipment of Ontario Hydro that failed. Like, we need to be front and center, and we need to say that. And we have an opportunity to communicate a message, and I don't think it's being done properly. So looking for some help going forward in that.
Okay, so are you looking for better communication from NPEI?
I am.
Okay, so do you have any comments on any communication that we've had with NPEI to date, Mr. CAO?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to members of council and to anyone that may be watching, anytime we hear, both proactively or reactively, because sometimes we don't find out until people have outages, and then it gets relayed to us. We are trying to communicate that info. I did have a conversation, or I reached out last night, had a conversation very early this morning with reps from NPEI that did update me that they were on site, they were waiting for Hydro One, that the issue got resolved after about 4 hours last night. Definitely shared with various contacts at NPEI some of the social media chatter around the building of homes and so forth. I won't share what their comments were as it relates to that, but I think where we can, we'll try to be as proactive as possible. But we, again, I'm looking at Mr. Deanny, we're sometimes only as good as the information we have. And so I think any reminder that I can provide and that Paul can provide to his communication counterpart at NPEI and at Hydro One, I think he will, and we will. I know Paul himself reached out and spoke to one of the directors about a couple of issues we're having with Hydro One on Aberdeen, but as well as this particular matter, and we did receive some resolution. But communication is important. Anytime we can do that and do more of it, we will. But I'll continue to have those conversations. My counterpart at NPEI, as others will, but maybe Councillor Brunei wants to add a little bit to that.
It's not my intention to put you on the spot as a board member, Councillor Brunei. However, if you are prepared to say something, that would be fine. And if you are not prepared tonight, that will be fine too, because there's certainly more going on here than we're hearing about at the moment. I mean, more positive things going on in terms of planning. Go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate Councillor Patria's comments. We have had 3 outages. Unfortunately, the first outage, which was a considerable outage, almost a full day from 8:30 in the morning till 4:25 in the afternoon. We were ironically at a hydro conference in Muskoka, so the CEO was there and was dealing with that for a number of hours. And yeah, the unfortunate situation, the reality is that the infrastructure that's failing is owned by Ontario Hydro. But the customers that we take to feed, to get the hydroelectricity to our customers at NPEI across Lincoln and even Grimsby and West Lincoln and into Pelham, the customers, all they know is they pay their bill to NPEI and they expect good communication. So I take that, and I know that the staff at NPEI is taking that responsibility very seriously. But sometimes it's hard to communicate that, we've got people on the street waiting for 4 hours for Ontario Hydro to solve the solution so they can move forward to do the work. So I'll leave it at that, but I take Councillor Patria's comments, and I'll certainly work as the board representative to ensure that the best communication that's possible can be there for our residents. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
That's great. Well, it certainly is very inconvenient. Councillor Patry?
Yeah, Councillor Brunei, I appreciate that. And I think, you know, just that messaging that says what the issue is, like in black and white, printed out, I think would dispel a lot of consternation, right? So
Yeah.
I just, you know what, and I just hate reading that stuff online. And I did the best I could today to take the CAO's message and put it wherever I could. And once people hear that, they say thank you. So it's a simple, you know, rather than the map showing the outage, just some verbiage that says, hey, we're aware of the problem, it's not our issue, but we're working on it. And I think that would go a long way. So appreciate that, Councilor Brunet.
Great, okay. Mr. CAO, go ahead.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to that point, you know, I'd encourage both members of council and residents, if you see things out there, we're not monitoring necessarily Facebook or anything else 24/7, reach out. Most of us are available all hours of the day. We can then reach out to our colleagues and counterparts and get you that information. But if we don't know, it's hard to get that information because we aren't monitoring necessarily all social media channels 24/7.
Yeah, it's been pretty selective as well. I mean, if my husband hadn't gone on social media, we wouldn't have had not a clue, because it's very unusual. We don't have those outages like we used to up in the Camden area. Things have improved. So, fair enough. Okay, well, it's an important message. Thanks, everyone, for their input. And we'll see how we can improve this. All right, moving on to, I don't see any other names. We're at item 20, motion to adjourn. I have a motion moved by Councillor Mikulik, seconded by Councillor Pachiriva, that the council meeting on July the 2nd, 2024 be adjourned at 21:37 hours. All right. And I'll now ask the clerk to open the vote.
Vote is open. I'll close that vote.
Motion
Thank you,
is
that carries.
carried.